Hello and welcome. Today we are going to look at the trial balance. Remember, the trial balance helps us to check the arithmetic errors of our ledger account, and it also helps us to prepare the financial statement. Here is the equation that we will be working on today. It will appear on your screen. The equation says ABC Peter Ltd has the following transaction for the month of March 2025 0203. Cash purchases 5,000. On the 10th, we have cash sales 20,000. On the 25th, we have paid wages by cash 1.4. And on the 26th, paid insurance by cash 1.6. And on the 27th, we have settled by cash 600. And the question says requirement, record transactions. That is the first thing. The second thing, balance of the ledger, and then lastly, prepare the trial balance. So let me write this transaction on my small board, and we start by recording the transactions. Yeah, I have written the transactions. So we have the transaction on the 2nd of March, which is cash purchase is 5,000. So we're going to record that transaction. So we have cash purchases 5,000. Right. If we look here, we have two accounts, right, that are in this transaction. We have the cash account, right, and then we have the purchase account. So we're going to open the cash account as well as the purchase account, right? So I'm going to open purchases account here, and then here I'm going to open cash account, right? Remember, on our left we have debit, and on our right we have credit, right? So in order to place our figures there, we need to understand the treatment, right, of our account, right? In accounting, we simply use the word tails, right, to remind us what we are supposed to do with account. The first three, P, E, A, is for debit. The last three is for credit, right? So P is for purchases, right? E is for expense, right? A is for asset. And then we have R for revenue, L for liability, and S for sales, right? Now, let's look at purchases. Purchases fall under debit, right? So what are we going to do? Since we have the cash and purchases, we are going from the debit of purchases, we are going to write cash and the amount 5,000, right? This was 102, right? We recorded this transaction, right? The following transaction was cash sales 20,000. Yeah, let me complete this. We have on this, we've got debit and credit, right? Since we debited the cash here, now we're going to credit purchases here. So purchases 5,000. Yeah, now the transaction is complete. Now let's move to the second transaction. And the second transaction says cash sales 20,000. Cash sales 20,000. Now we are going to look at the two accounts that are there, right? We have cash sales, we have cash and sales account, right? So since we have the cash, no problem, we're going to continue on that cash account. And now we are going to open sales. And then we're going to do this. So before we attempt that, we have to understand what are we going to do with sales. Remember, sales, we credit them from the web price, right? And then we have the cash, right? Sometimes you can be directed by the cash, right? If the cash increases, we know that cash is an asset, so we're going to debit. But if the cash is reduced, we know that it's a credit. Like in this case, we can see that the cash is increasing. It means that we're going to debit the cash because cash is asset. But now we have sales. We know sales by nature. We have to credit it. So we're going to credit it with cash. Cash of 20,000, right? Since we debited cash here, now the sales comes here. We're going to debit the sales. 20,000, right? We are done with sales account, right? Now we come again and look at the next transaction, wages. So wages were paid by cash, right? So it was 1.4. We've got wages, right? When we have wages, this is a debit, this is a credit. So since it involves cash, cash was reducing, right? So since it was reducing, it means that we're going to credit in cash account. But wages is an expense. What are we doing with the expense? We debit the expense, right? So we debit with what? Cash. How much? Cash 1.4. We come here, right? Since cash was on the debit here, it means the wages are going to be on the credit, right? So wages 1.4, right? Now we are done with wages, right? We are going to look at the next transaction. Insurance, paid insurance by cash, 1.6. Insurance. Cash is being reduced. Remember, insurance is an expense, right? We are spending money on the insurance, right? 1.6. It means it is an expense, it's going to be debited. So we're going to write cash 1.6. Right. We come to cash, we write insurance 1.6. Right. Now we continue again. The last transaction says settle but by cash, right? So it means that we are going to open account for BAT and cash, right? So let's do BAT here. And then what happened to cash? Cash is being reduced, right? So this we were paying someone, so the cash is being reduced, right? So we're going to credit it and write BAT, right? It was 600. So automatically, when we come here, you write cash, right? 600. So that's how we record for our transactions, right? Now, afterward, we are going to balance them, right? So we are going to balance this account. Now we get into the balancing part, right? So after you recorded all your transactions, now it's time to balance them off, right? Remember, after you balance your account, you are going to take the balance brought down, right, to the trial balance. And another important note is that balance carried down and balance brought down, they are not supposed to be on the same side, right? When balance carried down is on your right, balance brought down should be on your left. When balance brought down on your left, balance carried down on your right. Now we are going to balance the accounts, right? We are going to start with purchases, right? So in order to balance the purchases, let me draw something big. Let's say this is the purchases account. Then we had cash, right, 5,000. And then we've got nothing here. So what are we going to do? We're going to make equal sign on this side and equal sign on this side, right? So we're saying 5,000 is the big number. So here is 0, so we're going to write 5,000 again here. Remember, we are balancing, right? When we balance, we make things equal. So this is equals to this. So we have to write something, right? So since here we wrote cash, here we're going to write balance carried down, right? And then we write 5,000. This 5,000 is the one that comes here, right? And then we're not finished. We wrote balance carried down. Now we need balance brought down. Remember, I said balance carried down and balance brought down should not be in the same side, right? When the other one is on your right, you write the other one on your left. Since balance carried down is on our right, we're going to write balance brought down on our left, right? So we're going to say, remember to write it under, right? Under this figure, balance brought down or balance brought forward, and then you write 5,000. Right. Pay attention. This is the value that we are going to enter in the trial balance, right? So I'm going to write it down here. So let me write kind of purchases 5,000 so that I won't forget. And then we are done with balancing purchase account. We can see that balance brought down is 5,000. So we're going to write balance CD 5,000, right? And then I write 5,000 again here, and then here it was 5,000. Remember, I used this to get 5,000, and you write balance brought down 5,000. So let me erase this. So I'm going to erase this, right? So I marked this to show that this is the figure that I'm going to take to trial balance, right? Now we are done with purchases, right? We are done with purchases. Now we're going to sales, right? So let me sales, right? So with sales, we have credit of 20,000, right? this cash 20,000, right? We're going to draw the equal sign here and then the equal sign. So we want to balance this. This is 20,000. It means we're going to write 20,000 again here. And then we write balance carried down 20,000, right? Remember, we are not yet finished. We wrote balance carried down. Now we need balance brought down. Remember, they are not supposed to be on one side. So we take this balance carried down. When it comes here on the new month, we will be calling it balance brought down and write 20,000. Remember, balance carried down and balance brought forward, the figures are equal, right? So we only mean that we take the figure from the previous period and place it in the new period, right? So this 20,000, right? So that's how we balance sales. So let me write it here. Balance CD 20,000, and then we write 20,000 here, 20,000, and then we have under balance brought down 20,000. Remember, we're taking this to trial balance. We are done with balancing of sales. Now let's move to the next one. We've got wages, right? So we are going to balance wages. So with wages, we have cash of 1.4. 1.4, right? We draw the equal sign both sides. So since there's no figure here, we know that we're going to have balance carried down. So 1.4, we wrote it here. Since we want this to be equal, so we're going to write 1.4. So 1.4 was the big number, that's why we place it. Now, balance carried down is going to be 1.4. So, but remember, we are taking this figure to the new month and we call it the balance brought down. It's 1.4. This figure, we are taking it to the trial balance, right? So we're going to write it here. Balance CD 1.4, and then we will go to 1.4, right, and then balance brought down 1.4. I'll put stars to show you that we're going to take it to the trial balance. We're done with wages. Now we have the insurance. Remember, we are in the balancing style, right? So we're going to have insurance. Insurance, we have cash of 1.6. 1.6, right? So we put the equal sign here to make this accounts equal. Since there's nothing here, we take 1.6, write it here, 1.6 here. Then we write here as balance carried down 1.6. Since balance carried down is here, we know balance brought down comes here as 1.6. We take this to the trial balance, so we're going to write that information here. balance CD 1.6, then we put it equal 1.6. And then balance BD 1.6. We are done with balancing insurance account, right? Now let's go to the cash account. Now we can see that we have two sides, right? They both have figures, right? We add the right side and the left side, then we pick the one with bigger number, right? So here we know we have 20,000. Then let's try to add on our right. We've got 5,000. 5,000 plus 1.4 is going to give us 6.4, right? 6.4 plus 1.6 equals 8,000. 8,000 plus 600 is going to give us 8.6, right? So which one of the two is the bigger number? We know that 20,000 is bigger number, so we're going to use 20,000, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say rule the big number. Remember to leave a line for balance CD for both sides, right? So we've got 20,000, 20,000, right? Remember that figure was 8.6, right? So we're going to say 20,000 minus 8.6, right? We want to find that balancing figure, right? That can make this number to be 20,000, right? So remember we added this number and we found that it's 8.6. So we want to that number that when you add it to 8.6 give us 20,000. So that's why we're subtracting 0, then 19, 10, 4, 1, 11.4, right? So our balance CD is going to give us 11.4, right? Now let's write our balance brought down. Remember, our balance brought down, we take the balance CD and place it on the other side, right? So under this figure, so balance brought down to the new month, right? So we take 11.4. So that's where most students make mistake there. Instead of taking that balance CD and place it as a balance brought down, maybe they don't take it, and then they are going to make mistake in the trial balance, right? So these are the figures that we are going to use in our trial balance. So we're going to look at trial balance. Now we're going to prepare it. Now we are done with balancing of our accounts. Now let's prepare our trial balance, right? So I'm going to make a table, right, like this. So here you can write accounts or details, right? And then we're going to separate it. So after we write accounts, we've got the debit and the credit, right? So we're going to look at the side where our balance brought down is, right? If it is on your right, we know that that's a credit. When it's on your left, it's a debit, right? So we're going to look at purchases, right? We've got balance brought down on our left. It means that it is a debit, right? So write purchases. So it's a debit, right? 5,000. Here there's nothing. Then we've got sales, right? So sales, where's our balance brought down? It is on credit, right? That is 20,000. So 20,000. Then we're going to wages, right? We look at the wages. Where's our balance brought down? On the debit, how much? 1.4, right? Wages 1.4. Then we've got what? Insurance, right? Where's our balance brought down? On our left, it is a debit, right? 1.6. Insurance. Right. Then we have got what? Bath, right? So with bath account, did we balance it? Yeah, I guess maybe but we have got balance it, right? Since this path is 600. So balance it is 600, and then balance brought down should be 600, right? So our balance brought down will be on this, on our left, which means it's a debit, right? So sorry for that mistake. So we're going to write but how much? 600, right? Since balance brought down is on our left, we've got 600, right? And then we have the cash account, right? So we're going to write it here, cash, right? So balance brought down is on debit, right? How much? 11.4. 11.4, right? So we can say that we have completed our accounts, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So it means that now we are done. We write total. So when it comes to total, our total shows us whether there are some errors or not, right? If the figures are not equal from the debit and credit, means something is not. You may have missed or misplaced some transaction there, right? Or account, right? Instead of doing the debit, maybe you did the credit, right? Or you omitted the transaction, right? So let's add this together. Since 20,000 is only here, we know that is 20,000. 5,000 plus 1.4 is 6.4, right? 6.4. This will be 8,000, 8.6, right? 8.6 plus this is going to give us 20,000. Yeah, let me confirm it. 11.4 plus 8.6 0 0 0 0. Yeah, that should be 20,000. So that's how we prepare trial balance, right? So when you prepare trial balance, most of the time try to arrange your accounts, right, based on the account equation. Like you start with asset and then liability, then capital, then you add expenses and revenue, right? But as long as you know where to place them, there's no problem when you are preparing the financial statement. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next lesson. And on the next lesson, we're going to look at the income statement. Bye bye.